asset. And 3,
I'm glad to have you join us again on the live broadcast of Senate plenary today, Wednesday, the 29th of January, 2019. Well, yesterday, being Tuesday, the Senate abruptly adjourned for lack of quorum. But then today, by 11 o'clock, the Senate reconvened. And at the moment, the Senate is... We are brought down today for consideration. And at the moment, about 5 petitions have been presented before the Senate. And one bill so far has been passed for first reading. And as usual, we have with us here the Chairman, Senate Committee on Rules of Business and Rules, Senator Babaka Kagarba. He's here to now tell us one or two things that are taking place in the chamber already and what we expect on the floor of the Senate by the time the plenary continues. Thank you for joining us again this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ignatius. Good morning, viewers. The Senate session has already started in earnest. It's already ongoing, but some of the issues that we have had on the start of the session are the first being the first reading of bill sponsored by Senator Ahmed Abubakar Moalla Edi, representing Adamawa South, Mental Health and Substance Abuse Bill 2019, and also 5 reports from the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions, in respect of petitions received from the general public on the floor of the Senate. Those reports have already been laid. At an appropriate time in future, the reports will be discussed and considered by the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The next item on the order paper has to do with nomination from Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Muhammadu Buhari, in respect of 3 career ambassadors representing Delta, Yobe, and Borno. The individuals involved are Mr. Christopher Chijiena, Mr. Bukar Kolo, and also Mr. M.A. Mabdul. Then the last segment of the order paper, we have a conference committee report on National Transport Commission. National Transport Commission, viewers may recall, is one of the priority bills of the Senate. Actually is one of the bills, or one of the priority bills of the Senate. The bills was passed in the 2 chambers of the National Assembly and was transmitted to Mr. President. But because of Mr. President actually returned the bill with a caveat, that is, refused to assent to the bill with a caveat. The caveat are certain provisions of the bills should be amended so that once the provisions are amended and returned back to Mr. President, it will be signed into law. So the provisions, number 1, being the bill actually gave the organization the safety regulation. That safety regulation aspect has to be expunged for Mr. President to sign it into law. And the second one is freight stabilization fee. The amount involved in the original bill was 3%, but it has to be reduced from 3 to 1%. The last one being royalties. Royalties as proposed in the bill, the original bill was 10%. That royalty aspect has to be reduced to 5%. So these are the 3 amendments that will be made in the bill. And as the process is going on in the Senate, is also similarly, same process is going on in the House of Representatives. So that while these bills, this conference committee reports in the both houses are simultaneously passed, it will be transmitted to Mr. President for assent. So the other committee reports, we have conference committee report on promissory note program and bond issuance. That will also be discussed and considered on the floor of the Senate. We also have the next item is conference committee report on national inland waterways. That one would also be discussed. Then we also have conference committee report on agency for national ethics and values. The second to the last is a report of the Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes. This actually has to do with the confirmation of nomination of Mr. President's nominee as Chief Executive of the NFIU, that is that is Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit. Okay. So the committee has already done its work. The screening has already been met. So the Senate is going to confirm the nomination of Modibo R. Hamman Tukur for appointment as Director and Chief Executive of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. Okay. Lastly is resume consideration of the National Fertilizer Quality Control Act 2019.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for your time.
You are most welcome.
Well, we'll now go straight to the chamber to follow proceedings for the day.
Their own resolutions separately. The two chambers of the National Assembly agreed to set up a conference committee to reconcile areas of differences in the recommendation of the report passed by the both chambers. Members of the committees are in page 1 and page 2, conference committee action. The conference committee met on Friday, 18th January 2019, to harmonize the differences in the recommendations of the report with respect to payments of beneficiaries from exporters in Export Expansion Grant EEG scheme and contractors as passed by the two chambers. The conference committee observed that the two additional companies, SCC Nigeria Limited and Mahaza Company Limited, whose approval of payment was not granted in the Senate, did not present some key documents to the ad hoc committee as requested till the expiration of the period given to them, but subsequently presented all necessary documents to the House Committee on AIDS, Loans and Debt Management, who recommended their payment. Hence, the recommendation in the House Committee version. Area of conference. The conference committee considered and resolved as follows. Senate approved a promissory note program of issuance the sum of 43,586,007,252 naira.69 kobo for the payment of 6 contractors. But the House approved 206,065,107,252.69 kobo for the payment of 7 contractors. The 7th one is SCC Nigeria Limited, which is 162,169,100,000. The recommendation on that one was the House of Representatives version was adopted. 2, the Senate approved a promissory note program and bond issuance in the sum of 193,042,846,216.24 kobo for the payment of 269 exporters' claims in expansion grant EEC scheme, where the House approved 195,089,234,808.63 kobo for 270 exporters' claims, export and expansion grant EEG scheme, 388,592.39 kobo. The conference accepted the House of Representatives version as adopted. Recommendation. After thorough scrutiny and considerations, the conference committee adopted the House of Representatives version. Conclusion. The conference committee wishes to express its gratitude to the State House, to the Senate and House of Representatives for the opportunity to serve in the committee. I so move.
Distinguished colleagues, there are no comments. I'll put the question. Those in favor that the Senate do approve the conference committee report on the promissory note program and bond insurance to settle inherited local debts on contractual obligations, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the newly converted Democrat from Edo North. What do you mean? The fourth order of the day is the consideration of the conference committee report on the National Inland Waterways Act, CAP N47, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019. Distinguished senators will kindly recall that the Senate and the House passed different versions of the National Inland Waterways Act, N47, Repeal and Reenactment Act, Bill 2019. The conference committee of both houses have met and harmonized the differences in accordance with Senate Standing Order 87. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Clifford Odia, Edo Central, to move the motion for the Senate to consider the conference report.
Senator Odia.
Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Clifford Odia, representing Edo Central Senatorial District. I rise to move the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the Conference Committee report on the National Inland Waterways Authority Act, Cap N47/2004, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2019, SB 240. I so move.
Senator Lanrita Joshua.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I am Senator Lanrita Joshua of the Central of the State. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do receive the Conference Committee report on the National Inland Waterways Authority Act, Cap N47/2004, Repeal and Reenactment, Bill 2019, SB 240. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do consider the conference report on the National Inland Waterways Authority Act, Cap N47/2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 240. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Clifford Odia, come and lay the report, please.
Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Clifford Odia, representing Edo Central Senatorial District. I rise to present the Conference Committee report on the bill for an act to repeal the National Inland Waterways Authority Act, Cap N47 LFN 2000, and to enact the Nigerian Inland Waterways Act, establish the Nigerian Inland Waterways Authority to provide for the management, regulation, and development of the Nigerian Inland Waterways, and to provide private sector participation in the development of the Nigerian Inland Waterways in Nigeria and for other related matters. My very distinguished colleagues, the Nigerian Inland Waterways Authority Bill 2017 was passed by the Senate on Wednesday, the 10th day of May 2017, and in the House of Representatives on Thursday, 3rd May 2018. However, there were noticeable differences in the two versions of the bill as passed by the two chambers of the National Assembly, respectively. Consequently, in line with the provision of Section 583 of the 1999 Constitution as amended which stipulates that agreement must be reached on any amendment made on a bill passed by the two chambers, and in accordance with the applicable standing law orders of both the Senate and the House of Representatives, a conference committee was constituted in the Senate on Thursday, the 24th day of May 2018, and in the House of Representatives on Wednesday, 24th October 2018, to, among others, reconcile the areas of differences that appear in the two versions of the bill and make appropriate recommendations for the approval by the chambers in order to have a harmonized version of the bill. The membership of the Senate is as stated here, and also the membership of the House of Representatives is also as stated. Conference Committee Legislative Activities. The Conference Committee met on Friday, 16th November 2018, to identify the areas of differences noticed in two versions of the bill with a view to harmonizing them. The committee deliberated on the areas of differences and harmonized them accordingly. Thereafter, the committee resolved and adopted the harmonized version for recommendation to each of the chambers of the National Assembly for approval. It should be stated here, for the purpose of clarity, that it is not all the provisions of the bill that were reproduced in the attached table. The conference committee only reproduced the provisions where the areas of differences were noticed. Brief comment on areas of differences. Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues, at this juncture, I wish to state that the National Inland Waterways Authority Bill 2018 was first passed by the Senate, after which it was passed by the House of Representatives. As a result, the House of Representatives version is an improved version of the bill, as it addresses the noticeable shortcomings of the bill when it was passed by the Senate. In view of the foregoing, most of the provisions in the House version were adopted by the Conference Committee. Let me at this point crave your indulgence to highlight briefly our comment on some of the provisions of the bill as adopted by the Conference Committee as follows. Long title. The Conference Committee adopted the long title in the House of Representatives version of the bill because it encompasses the overriding purport of an intendment of the bill. Clause 4. Clause 4 of the bill deals with the powers and functions of the authority. The committee adopted paragraphs A to V in the House version and paragraph W in the Senate version. Similarly, the newly introduced paragraph 6C